Okay. Well, let's talk about Christmas then, because Christmas is a whole different animal this year because we do have that fourth Sunday is Christmas Day. So if I'm going to look at my dates just to make sure I'm telling the truth and not lying, we have December 4th, December 11th, December 18th, and December 25th, which as it when I was in children's ministry full time, I was always trying to say who has to do nursery on that day, but um, that's a small church problem. Big churches probably have it figured out. Um, let's talk about curriculum. So
Yeah, actually, in my church in Dubai, I was actually really sad when it came up on Christmas Day because we normally had a Christmas Day service. It was a very unique service that was just like 1 hour, no children's ministry, families all together. It was, I don't know, just a different vibe. And we would miss that service when we had our normal like
yeah,
Sunday service. And I was like, oh, I want that fun service again. I like it.
yeah, it's a totally different Sunday,
Yeah.
and I remember kids coming in high on candy at 9 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm
They all
all
have their
for
favorite new toy with them. And
favorite new toy or electronics in Sunday school.
yeah.
It can be stressful, but we have the whole month to prepare. We have three Sundays before, and then we have that Sunday of. So let's talk about Christmas. And
So much to talk about this one.
yeah, so
Right. So where do you
let's
want to
start.
start?
Let's start with breakfast in Bethlehem because I'm
Okay.
not sure we've talked about this lately.
Yeah.
And
So Breakfast in Bethlehem is a family Christmas carnival, kind of a Christmas fall festival kind of feel. So the same kind of games and activities you would typically have at a fall festival, but it's set up for Christmas, kind of walking you through the whole story from the prophecies about Jesus' birth through the birth, the shepherds, the wise men, the census, all the way through. And there's crafts, there's games, there's really active stuff. It's easy to pick and choose if you have a small church and just do a couple of the activities. I think on the other video, I was telling Tony that this started with one game and then a pancake breakfast and the reading of Luke 2. And then year by year, I added more games to the point that it became a huge thing. And just so much fun, easy to pull off. All the activities are ready to go. Without a lot of extra resources needed. And definitely a fun outreach for the community. If I was doing this though, I would do it early in the season because December calendars are already full. Or
so
do it on Christmas Day. If your church has some churches maybe aren't doing Sunday school, and you could do this before the service, or, it might be even a good option to throw together and, go to your staff and say, what do you think about doing this? How could we do this? Make it a big thing in your church.
yeah, I think my first choice would be probably that first Sunday
Yeah.
of the month, kind of to kick it off. And I do like the way this is planned, where there's not it's not like a ton of work falls on any one person.
Right.
It's not this heroic effort. I know sometimes churches get into these things that are just heroic efforts to do, and so they don't last year after year. And this one is something that can be a kind of a fun tradition, especially if you have the right people who do their booth every year and really get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it can start off real simple. The first year, do pancakes, have somebody dressed up, read Luke 2, and then grow from there. Or start with 3 or 4 booths if you have the people to do it.
Or
Teenagers love this too.
or
Teenagers love
add
getting
one or
involved.
two of the activities in each week in December. That can actually be the basis for your curriculum. There's a couple of activities based on the prophecies. Well, do those games, read those scriptures, pray, find a coloring page. You've got a pretty decent lesson right there. So I think there's multiple ways to use this. We always did it on a Saturday morning because that's what worked for our church. But you can do it on Sunday. You can do it midweek. You can do it. There's lots of times that this could be a really fun event.
Cool. So breakfast in Bethlehem, that would kind of kick off the season. And then we have a couple a couple. Let's start with the new one because
Okay,
for our regular folks, you've probably heard of some of the other ones, but let's start about.
here we go.
Um, you
Yeah,
can
so this one is,
introduce it, and then I'll open up the file after a minute.
yeah, this one's brand new. This one just released today. So this is looking at kind of the three major stories of Christmas. So Jesus' birth, the shepherds, and then the wise men, and seeing who Jesus is in each of those. So at his birth, seeing his incarnation, the tent representing Jesus dwelling with his people. Then the light bulb representing Jesus coming as the light of the world, and that's on the shepherds. So the shepherds are, it's dark, angels come, light up the dark sky and tell them, go find Jesus. And then we look at how Jesus is the light of the world. And then the last week, the wise men. I mean, we don't know a lot about the wise men. I know some traditions call them kings. But they were obviously somebody of some importance who had expensive things to come give to this new king. And how, they came and sacrificed their gifts to the King of Kings. So we're looking at just three images of Christ. This would be easy to do leading up to Christmas, or the week before Christmas Day and the week after, or there's lots of different ways we could use it. It's similar to most of my curriculums. It's got a large group and small group format with two different age groups, 5 to 8 and 8 to 12. It's got suggested worship songs. The lessons are scripted, basically the Bible text with some commentary, which I think is a great option in teaching familiar stories, because kids are used to seeing the pictures. But if we can get them straight into the scripture and say, like, what does Luke 2 actually say? And even when I have written so much on Christmas, right? As I was working on this week, there were a couple of little words that popped up to me, and I was like, I never thought about that, like the actual meaning of that verse. So, again, it's got a lot of printables. I tend to go a little crazy on printables and activity pages, but it gives you options for however your group works.
Yeah, and this one, because it's only 3 weeks, we're not going to do the normal free sample lesson because it's only 3 weeks. And it's super affordable anyway, but that's why I'm kind of scrolling through and just giving everybody a look of what's inside. And if you've taught anything from Bethany, like her curriculum is very robust. You get the scripted lesson, you get the small group discussion, you get the graphics, the printables. You get that. I think it's a good feeling where, as a teacher, I get to decide what I'm going to use,
Right.
instead of deciding, oh no, I've got to go find extra stuff on the internet. I have to go to Ministry of Children and Google stuff all the time. But I think you've got, a complete curriculum, more than you could possibly do in a 45-minute class. Now, I know a lot of your targeting is for an hour and a half for churches that use.
Yeah, I would say this one's probably closer to an hour. I think the activities are a little bit simpler in this one than often, but mainly because it's such a familiar text. My goal really was to get kids in the scripture on these, get them really looking at the words and seeing Jesus as something other than just the baby in the manger. I think too often we just, okay, Jesus was born, whatever, so, but it still gives you those three really popular stories that kids want to hear. So
yeah, absolutely. And that would be great, especially this year when we got, Christmas Sunday. So you have, the first 3 weeks of the month where you're going to have your normal crowd, your normal teaching, and then plan something for the final week. And we just, before we went on Facebook Live, and I think we had the idea, we need to put something together because the Jesus birthday party is such an obvious choice for Christmas morning if you're not doing a family service. So that's that.
yeah, or even if you are doing a family service and your pastor says, it'd be great if the kids had 20 minutes before the service or after the service to
Right.
focus on them. So yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, we got tons of choices on here. We even have Spanish lessons on here. There's another family activity, the Doe Holy Night.
Yeah.
We've got printables. We've got already printed books. So I would say pretty much anything anybody is looking for, we've got on here. Which one should we talk about next?
Let's talk about the Epic Christmas Bundle, because I think some people are still confused about this, and I don't know I've not communicated it well enough, but people still look at this and then they email me and they say, "Hey, can I buy this section? Can I buy Christmas Bethlehem separate?" And I'm like, "Of course you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course you can." I don't know why
Totally.
you would because this is such a value, but you can.
This bundle is basically everything we have for Christmas except for like the printed, those kind of things, with the exception of the new one that just came out yesterday. So it has, I can't remember if you can scroll down, Tony, because yeah, 17 weeks of elementary lessons, 4 weeks of toddler and preschool lessons, has breakfast in Bethlehem, and it has resources that you can give to families, including permission to make 5 copies of my ebook. It has coupon codes for making more copies of the ebook if you want more. So yeah, we've got the Who is Jesus series, which is 5 weeks, looking at the person of Christ, from the prophecies through the birth and his up through, I think, temptations, right? Yeah. And then the Bible, we got the lessons on the 4 Gospels from the Bible series, which obviously are very Christ focused. We have the 4-week Advent curriculum, Is It Time Yet, which goes along with my book, Is It Time Yet? Ooh, little shameless plug
Oh
there.
yeah.
So that one goes from the prophecies about Christ, how Jesus came at just the right time, and then to his birth. So basically looking through it kind of goes through some of the stories in the book and because the book follows from creation to the cross during Advent. I put the New Year curriculum in there because the last thing you want to do the week after Christmas is figure out what to teach in January. So that's already in there for you. The whole preschool series, Sing and Play Christmas, which these lessons, actually, I didn't put it in the thing with the new series, but these lessons would match up with the new one, I believe.
Okay.
I'm remembering correctly. I think that I know there's Shepherds and Wise Men and Jesus' birth. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the 4th week of this series is, but at least 3 of them would match up. So if you wanted to be able to do the full thing, it says right here, Isaiah's prophecies, birth, shepherds, and wise men. So yeah, weeks 2, 3, and 4 of this one match up with the 3 gifts if you wanted the same. Yeah, and then it's got, it has M is for Manger, which I'll just open that up. I've got a hard copy as well. That is a coloring activity book with do a dot pages and
Yeah.
kind of walking through the gospel.
In the bundle, they get the download version in the bundle, or if they buy it just as a download. But you have those are on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are great, and you can get bulk orders. Bethany has a connection with that, so she can get you those bulk orders as well. So, gosh, what would
There's
you
a lot
choose
to choose from this year for Christmas. I don't know what I would choose, honestly. We have 3 or 4 really solid curriculums, even if you weren't buying the bundle. So, I think we've got some good choices. We got the Who is Jesus? Is It Time Yet? 3 gifts. Yeah, the Jesus is Sweeter is candy is kind of Christmassy.
Yeah.
That's not the Christmas story though in that, is it? Or is it? I don't know.
No, I think that one's misplaced. We need to.
Okay. And then yes, I think it's just those 3 main series, right? Is It Time Yet?
Yeah.
Who is Jesus?
Is It Time Yet?
So, I mean, I think it kind of depends what your church is looking for. If you're looking for something that walks through the story of the Bible, I would do Is It Time Yet? Because that's going to give you a whole overarching view of the Bible story, creation to cross. If you're looking just for Christmas, I would do the new one, the 3 Gifts of Christmas. And if you're looking for kind of a theology of Jesus, who is Jesus? Obviously, the one called Who is Jesus would be your bet there, because that's walking you through just the person of Christ. And this is from the Big Truth series. So this one is the meatiest of all of them, I will say.
Yeah, so I think it would make sense if you bought the bundle to do Is It Time Yet, and then do New Year, New Life, and then come back for Who is Jesus, even in February as you roll toward Easter.
Yeah.
I haven't checked Easter's dates this year, but I mean that would make a sense because the Who is Jesus is really evergreen, because you're just unpacking what does this mean?
Yeah, I mean,
For-
the lessons on the lesson on Jesus' birth. I mean, several of those have some very Christmassy kind of activities, but who doesn't like talking about Christmas any time of year? Maybe it's just me. I'm a little bit Christmas crazy.
which is why you have 7 curriculums for Christmas. No.
Come up with another
I,
one.
yeah, and a new one every day.
Yeah.
So I think sing and play Christmas. We probably need to talk more about this one. 'Cause I don't think we did a video last year, did we?
No, I don't think we've done much on the preschool ones, but we'll do that.
Yeah, and let me just go back to the whole preschool selection because we're slowly building our preschool curriculum. I know the focus, of course, for the Sunday school store is we really want that broad elementary, age 6 to 12, adaptable for small churches especially. But as we extend it into preschool, this preschool and toddler curriculum that Bethany creates is just fabulous. It's God-centered, it's cute, and it's God-centered, and it's tested on your own toddler.
On my own toddler and other people's toddlers, yes.
Yes. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
so
I'm trying to start creating things that go along with some of our elementary lessons because I know a lot of churches really want that, like across the board, everyone doing the same thing. So that's kind of my goal, is that as I have time, I would be creating preschool things that would match up. So even if you were in a church that had, like, let's say 4 to 9-year-olds in the same class, you may want to buy the preschool and the elementary so you could kind of pull from both to find what works best for your group.
absolutely.